empowering minds, amplifying voices, and transforming lives. This is the Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by the Destiny Connect Foundation. Your hosts, Zion Enogeu and Puffy Medupe.
Hey everyone, welcome to Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. My name is Puffy Medupe, all the way from South Africa. And normally I host this beautiful podcast with the exceptional Mr. Zion Enogeru, all the way from Nigeria, but he won't be quite joining us today. And I am just excited to be speaking to one of the greatest leaders that I know, global leaders. Sometimes you can be a global impactor, you can be a great leader. And even though humble yourself as this, guest that we have today, and we have in the house Mr. Kunle Pelemo, and I'm gonna just introduce him briefly, just shortly. But if you just joined us, you can tune in now by visiting Destiny Connect Foundation, both on social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, or you can also follow us on LinkedIn, because that's where you can be able to get all the details in terms of how to follow Untold Stories of Hope podcast, which is brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. Welcome, wherever you are tuning in. Make sure that you have a pen and a paper, or you've got your journal. You can be able to take some notes so that you can share with other people. Today, we are speaking about something, so profound, mental health and hygiene. We are talking about mental wellness, mental health, and hygiene. We just want to talk around that topic because we know that there are a lot of people. You might be one of them watching now or listening to this podcast, knowing that you need that encouragement in terms of mental wellness. And I can assure you that as I introduce Mr. Kunle Pelemo, he's going to share with us a lot of exciting things about mental health. I mean, he's a mental health advocate there in Nigeria. He's a global goodwill ambassador. He's an author on mental hygiene. There's a lot I can say about Mr. Kunle Pelemo, but I believe that he can be able to introduce himself better. Mr. Kunle, welcome to Untold Stories of Hope podcast.
Wow. Thank you so much for having me. I can't thank you enough for bringing me up to share what I have on this particular platform. It's been wonderful, and it's highly commendable what Destiny Connect Foundation is doing and what you and Mr. Zion hosting this podcast as well, what you're doing. It's massive, it's laudable, it's commendable, and bringing me here, like I said earlier on, I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. You are one of the guys that I really look up to because, your expertise, your level of expertise in terms of mental wellness, mental health. And I've seen how you've done a lot of global initiatives and collaborations with different individuals and organizations in terms of this. Now, take us through the journey of how it all started for you. How did you start having the passion and the desire to pursue mental wellness or mental hygiene in terms of helping different human beings all over the globe?
Hmm. Thank you so much. That's a great one there. And I am going to put this story together because there's a personal story to it. I started working in one of the busiest, sectors in my country, in Nigeria, which is the oil and gas downstream sector. And as you all know, oil and gas is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. So working in one of the fast growing organizations there, leaders in that organizations, it's a great privilege whereby we had to build the organization at that time. That living in the state that I, a whole lot of population, a huge area, and the rural urban migration is huge. A lot of people call their job 9 to 5. I call mine 5 to 9 because I will have to wake as early as 8 sometimes p.m. So the tension there is a lot. And I did that for
I think your network might be breaking a bit there and there, because I can hear the conversation is so beautiful. Can you maybe find a way in which you can, reestablish your connection? Mr. Kunle? All right. If you just tuned in now, you're still watching and listening to Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. And we are having, an exciting guest today. Yes, Mr. Kunle Pelemo. He's still trying to, okay, I think he's back now. Mr. Kunle, can you hear me?
yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think
can
for a
hear you loud
moment,
and clear.
we lost you there just for a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I'm going to pick up
All
from
right.
there. So I was saying that the personal story had to do with what I went through while I was working in the corporate sector, the demand it had on my mental health, experiencing stress, burnout, and all the rest. Even though at that time I am a personal development coach, this is something that I have been doing while I was in school, while I was in year 2 in my school. I have developed a lot of people. I've spoken in conferences, but there is a breaking point you get to, even whereby you will want to shatter, you will want to give in. And I felt, hey, I cannot continue that way. I had a protege who was going through a similar stuff in our own career as well. She's bright, she's young, she does a lot of things, but she got to a point in time where she called me one night and told me that she had planned to take her life the next day. And I felt that this is a serious issue, that someone like me, I need to get into this sector and create advocacy. And at that point in time, I'm talking about 7 years ago, mental health had not gotten the right, the right publicity in Africa. There is a lot of stigmatization, even though we still have it up till date. But you remember now, I'm talking about some years ago. So you can see the level of awareness, how low it was then. So I felt if I have to do this, I have to go into it all hard. And then a matter of months afterwards, I had to resign from, from my job. It was a lot, it was crazy, so to speak, then, because people were wondering, you have a good job, how would you leave that for what you're doing? But the word you use then is the word passion, the word passion. And before then, I have 3 things. I call it the 3 Ps of passion. Because what a lot of people will look into is that how do I have the resources to do whatever I want to do, be it advocacy, creating awareness, and all those stuff. But in the 3 Ps of passion, all of these things are outlined there. The first thing is the fact that your passion will push you forward. Your passion will push you forward. It will keep pushing you wherever you are. Then number 2 is that that passion will pave way for you. It will pave way for you. And the third one is it will pull resources towards you. So if you have not started and you are not seeing any resources, it's because you have not started. But once you start, once you are doing that stuff, you begin to see those resources materialize. As a matter of fact, it is resourcefulness that comes first before resources. So if you are passionate and you are resourceful, resources will show up. And that's how it all started for me. And I jumped into it because the passion is my number 1 word. And the 3 Ps that I highlighted earlier on follow suit.
That's powerful. Being resourceful will bring resources. And I think you mentioned, how a lot of people might be facing mental pressure, without being aware, especially people who are caught up in work and they are saying they're following career and everything. But I'm glad that you found a way of, pulling yourself to become more resourceful in terms of helping other people. So tell me, what's an untold story of hope from your life that highlights the resilience of human spirit when facing mental health challenges?
Wow, that's a great one. Untold Story of Hope.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit, I'm going to dig deep into the story I just mentioned earlier on. You know, if you have to move from here, from top here to down here, I can easily compress it in 2 minutes and say the whole story. But when I talk about the experience that I had during that period, it is terrible. And I personally know that I had to dig deep within myself to move from a position of being an executive to someone who has to, at the initial stage now, tell people to believe in what you are doing. And then what you are doing is not something that a whole lot of people gravitate towards at that point in time. It was terrible. It was tough. And as a matter of fact, it was lonely for me at that point in time because financially, I switched from maybe 100 to say 20, to say the least, if I would not use 10. So if you are getting that kind of, switch, it switches a lot about you because when it happens to you physically, it affects your mind, it affects mentally. But at that point in time, that's when you need to face that fact that is this what I want to do? Is this what I have signed up to do? And that is the point whereby you know whether you need to weather that storm. And that was very terrible. And one thing that also happened during that period was the fact that there was an investment that I did then that I felt, yeah, this is going to keep me if I leave. I mean, you know how we do some of those things when you are working in the corporate sector, whereby you also have to invest your money. And these are the things that we also teach people. But unforeseen circumstances happen, and that's life generally. At that point in time, one of the investment that I had in one of also a very good sector, which is the real estate, it crashed. And coincided with a period that in 2 years after I left my job, it was terrible. There was no soft landing because at a point whereby I needed to interact with people, because then I transited into running my own corporate organization, which is corporate training, business training, and all the rest. But nobody in the office any longer, So it was terrible. So I was wondering, have I made the right decision at all? But But the truth of the matter is,
Yeah.
self-awareness is very, very important. When you know who you are, when you know what you are sold out to doing, and why you are doing what you are doing, the purpose, the reason behind what you are doing, that's going to take you far. And these are the things, and that's the number one thing, because I have
Yeah.
known who I am. I have known myself. There is no how I can divorce myself from my purpose. And that's what keeps me going. And when the old storm came, it was totally weathered. And here I am today, standing, or so to speak now, sitting before you. Perfect.
That's powerful. What you said is very much important, and now, Mr. Pelemo, tell me, what is the difference between mental wellness and psychiatric condition? Because there are so many people who mixes up the two. When we talk about mental wellness and hygiene, or when you talk about psychiatric, most people tend to think that is the same thing, because mental wellness is a stigmatized topic in communities. So, have you ever faced resistance when you discuss it openly? And how did you overcome that resistance?
A massive one. It's going to address a lot of issues that we are facing in the mental health industry, in in several strata of the of the society, be it in the public space, places, and all the rest. And to say the least, we keep facing, and I don't expect it to stop in the immediate, because it's endemic. It had really gone so deep in the society. We face resistance a lot when it comes to creating mental health conversations in the community, in the society. You go to workspaces and you put up a proposal to come train, staff about mental health related issues. They might say, don't come in. We don't have mad people in our organization. Because just like you mentioned, people have confused mental wellness or mental health for psychiatry. Even in some parts of Africa, mental health, and you maybe the next thing we say, when I'm not mad. And if you come to some, even do like this, that God forbid, I will not be mad. Do you understand? Because they have confused mental wellness, yes, for somebody who is mad, for someone who has lost his mind. And the two are so different entirely. There is a huge difference between mental health and even mental illness. Mental illnesses are disorders like psychiatry that occur in the brain. But mental health or mental wellness is a state of well-being where an individual can function and can cope with the normal stress of life and can work productively and fruitfully, can also make contribution to the society, just as we are doing. What makes us fit enough to do what we are doing right now is because we are mentally well. So if you look at it from that holistic definition, which is so close to the definition of World Health Organization, everybody will understand the fact that mental health is something that affects everybody, all and sundry. No one is left untouched when it comes to mental health. As a matter of fact, there will be no physical health without mental health. But the resistance we face all day long, time and time again, is because people's mindset have been abused. And that is why we need to disabuse the minds of people when it comes to, when it comes to talking about mental health.
I think you have said a mouthful. Mental health, mental wellness, different to mental illness, and also, what we call psychiatric. I think that is an elaboration that it really makes sense to me. And I'm sure most of the viewers, can really agree to that. If you've just joined us now, you are watching Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. And my name is Pafimi Dupi. I'm hosting right in South Africa. And we are having a very great leader in space, Mr. Kunle Pelemo, who really specializes and is an expert in mental wellness and hygiene. And today we are talking about mental wellness and hygiene. Remember that you can follow Destiny Connect Foundation either on LinkedIn or Facebook, or you can go through to our website and check all the other programs that we have. Now, Mr. Pelemo, as a leader or an individual, how do you prioritize mental wellness for yourself? Okay? And those around you. Can you share a story probably where you maybe where this approach made a significant impact? We're starting first about on how you prioritize your own mental wellness and to those who are around you. And tell us a story where this approach made a significant impact, because I think this is also important.
Absolutely. Very, 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 very important. Prioritizing mental health. And one of the ways to prioritize that is our rituals, what we do on a daily basis. And I used to tell people, I mean, we take to physical health, very well. I mean, we talk about it, and it's very, very good. I mean, there is nothing physical health, and I will be in support of that. Your physical health matters a lot. It's very, very important. But we don't have to make it a tip of the health iceberg. That's what I call a tip of the health iceberg, whereby we prioritize physical health and sweep a mass of other health-related issues about us under the carpet, whereby something is just seen at the top of the water and a mass is totally unseen. And that's how an iceberg is in water. How about our physical health? I mean, how about our mental health? How about our occupational health, spiritual health, emotional health, and so many other things? Because, like I used to tell people, you have a lot of people who want to build their six packs. You want to go to the gym, hit the gym, build six packs, and
like
all the
myself.
rest. Very, very nice. It is good.
I need to build six packs.
Exactly, because for someone like me, what I have is one pack, and well, so far so good. It's okay. And if I want to change it, then I know what to do to make it six or whatever packs that I want. But one very important pack that people don't build is the mental pack, because the six packs you build at the expense of your mental pack will end up turning into no packs at all. And such a person, if anything happens to that person at that moment in time, such a person will fall like a pack of cards. That health is something that we should prioritize, just as you mentioned, while you are building up the question. And one of the things that will help us in prioritizing our mental health is our rituals about mental health. Our rituals, like I used to say, you cannot divorce your results from your rituals. You cannot divorce your results from your routines. I'm replacing that rituals with routines. If that word ritual sounds somehow scary to some people, but your rituals are things that you do constantly. The routines, things that you prioritize and you do on a daily basis. Just as you eat the gym, you don't eat the gym one day and then the next day you look at your patch whether it has turned to six automatically. It doesn't work that way. There will be a regime that the instructor will take you through. This is how you do. And I mean, if you want to lose weight, you stop whatever you want to do for one day and you think, it's done. It doesn't work that way. The same way it applies to our mental health as well. What are your mental health rituals? What are the routines you do on a daily basis? And personally, one of the moments that resonates so well with me was during COVID-19. All of a sudden, the world was shut down and was in lockdown, and it exerted a lot of stress, tension, fatigue, both mentally on a lot of people. Because what we were used to, all of a sudden, we could not do them again. We could not shake our hands. We could not hug ourselves. And as a matter of fact, all those things go, a long way in helping us build bond, which is the way we were created. As a matter of fact, some people need dogs to survive. But all of a sudden, all of those things, they ceased. And somehow, wrong with point to it is because an order had been created that is against the order of nature, which is all socializing and all the rest. But I could remember during that period, there are three things that are so pertinent to me. The first thing is gratitude. At that moment, I imbibed that attitude of gratitude. That might sounds like a pun, but that's just it. The attitude of gratitude. what am I grateful for during that period? Because all of a sudden, it would take my attention away. And I'm speaking specifically to that time. It took my attention away from people who were dying. And Puffy, you will remember then on a daily basis, I don't know how it was done in sets per day, the number of people who are wondering, is it going to be my type, the attitude of gratitude?
Yeah.
Gratitude is the antidote to two emotions that mess us up. And those two emotions are anger and fear. You can't be grateful and be angry and fearful at the same time. It is not possible.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when those things are totally out of my life during that period, then I know that, yes, I am good to go. That's G. M is mindfulness. That is the act of staying in the present. All of a sudden, what matters to me is how I'm going to be present and then protect myself, protect my sanity, protect my mental health, my emotions, and all the rest. And all of those things that are like stressful to me, they don't matter to me at that point in time. The reason is because the future is very important, but you cannot get hold of a future when you can't take hold of your now. So mindfulness. And the last but not the least, which I did, was conscious breathing. And that is very important, whereby I take time to breathe. I used to tell people sometimes, remember to breathe. But this time around, it's not the breathing you breathe characteristically, as in your characteristics of being a human being, but this is the breathing or the breath you take based on the fact that you are conscious. You just want to use your breath to remind yourself or to tailor yourself towards a part of you that will connect with you the more, which is
Powerful.
conscious breathing. So when I do all of these three things, unprecedented period for the whole world, took me through that period, and that's the routine for me.
Mr. Kunle Pelemo, this is a very interesting conversation, and one would realize how much sometimes we really want to be beautiful on the outside, but we really forget that beauty begins from the inside, and excuse me, that's one thing we forget. I'm coming from that background. I think you know my story, how I was raised and everything, and I used to live, in pressure and brokenness, because of my upbringing and the difficult circumstances that I was living in. And I remember how my mental wellness was really unstable because I was living a discouraged life. And I used to reach to a point where I am constantly discouraged and I'm constantly exhausted, and everything became negative. Your surrounding becomes negative. And if people around you cannot really help you to get back on your feet, many people wouldn't have survived the phase that I've survived in my life of brokenness and depression as a child and trauma, the trauma that I've been exposed to as a child, and it was difficult. Now I can imagine globally how many people even now who are watching you and I speak on this platform of Untold Stories of Hope podcast. And there's someone or there are people out there who are living a life of discouragement. They are living a life of loss of hope or despair. There are people who are exhausted because of different reasons. It can be work. Some people are being, their mental wellness is not okay because of their marital statuses and everything, marital affairs. There are people who are not okay because the injustice that is happening in the world. How do you hope that your work and advocacy for mental wellness will transform lives?
Thank you very, very much, Puffy. That's so wonderful. I mean, it has gotten to that point in time that our stories now is just like, I mean, the title of this podcast is becoming a hope to a whole lot of people. People
Yeah.
listen to our stories.
All right, Mr. Pelemo, are you still there? I think we just lost you a bit. I think your network might have. All right, if you've just tuned in now, welcome to Untold Stories of Hope podcast. It's brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. My name is Pafimi, and I'm still here with the exceptional Mr. Kunle Pelemo, who's a mental wellness expert. And we are here talking about mental wellness and hygiene. And I know wherever you are tuning in, this can be a topic really that can help you, come out of some of the pit that you have fallen into. And I cannot cease, to appreciate everything that Mr. Pelemo has said. Earlier he spoke about being resourceful in order to create resources that are going to help you to have a better life. And I believe that as he mentioned gratitude just now, the three things that he does, one of them that captured my attention is gratitude. That many times we are not even grateful. We don't have the gratitude of life. We don't have gratitude of small things that really can build up hope in us. Oh, there you are. You are back. I was just recapping on some of the most important pointers that you spoke about, in terms of the mental wellness of a human being, because we hardly, Mr. Pelum, we hardly focus on that. Yeah, so you can connect to where you got cut off.
Okay.
I think your network
Thank you so
maybe
much.
might
Thank you.
be, yeah, I think it's the network.
Yeah, in the network, I was cut off, and sometimes those things could be funny, and then you start arguing with them, and you want to also impact your mental health negatively, but you need to bring yourself back to inanimate objects.
Yeah.
So
All right.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah. So I think what I was talking about then, based on the question you asked, how the work is going to create impact on the people advocacy, I was saying one thing very profound, which is, creating awareness first. And, where awareness works is very important because it works in the mind of the people. And I feel the mind is the first point when we talk about going to the marketplace, even in the corporate world. The mind is the greatest marketplace. The marketplace is not really, where people buy and sell physically. It's not the, big mall and all the rest. Because once you capture the mindset of the people, you have captured that person entirely. And that's what advocacy that I am personally doing, that's where it works. Reaching out to people through podcasts, reaching out to people through trainings, physically, online, and all the rest to first and foremost disabuse their minds when it comes to how they relate to mental health, when it comes to their orientation, as regards mental health, because the mind is very, very powerful. Like one of my quotes says, the
Yeah.
mind, an asset to us all, the use, the difference between us all. So it's important people get the right use, the right standing when it comes to using their mind as regards mental health. What is mental health to them? What does it mean to them? And that is what I do. Collaborate with other organizations as well, because this is not a one-man show. It is not, it is not something only one person can win. Imagine how many people who are affected by mental health related issue on a daily basis. So it is a lot. And
Yeah.
if we want to solve the problem, we need to collaborate. I mean,
Yeah.
collaboration is also one of the hallmarks of Destiny Connect Foundation, which I know. So this is something that I feel I can do to create an impact within the society, collaborating with people, changing the mindset of the people, and using, the tactics and tools that are available within my own immediate environment or what is specific to a particular place. There are places whereby you need to use the radio, transistor radio, some of those places where They don't even have access to the internet or data
Yeah.
network. That all you need to do is to speak to them in their own local language, and then they can just have like a transistor radio they listen to, and you create programs for them. These are some of the things that I am doing to create impact in that regard, and the feedback had been wonderful.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And we are almost concluding. And I'm just thinking of everything you said, and I'm just recapping in my mind, to also people who are listening and who do believe that um, you know they also didn't understand the difference between mental wellness and psychiatric, and all the mechanisms of how can you reach to a possible stage of mental wellness. So for someone who feels overwhelmed or they feel lost, what would be your first piece of advice to help them to regain control of their mental wellness? There are so many people out there. One of the things, Mr. Pelemo, that I realized, there's a lot of information, but most of the time we need precise information. We need precise information, because sometimes people, they run for everything, especially when they are desperate for help. And we are grateful to platforms like this, and to great leaders such as yourself, because you can bring precise information and knowledge that can help someone really understand what to do and how to do it. So if someone is overwhelmed or feeling lost, what would be your piece of advice to help them regain control of their mental wellness?
Wow, wonderful. Great one right there. You said it. I mean, we are in the information age. Information is a dime a dozen now. You go online, you search for a lot of things. You have books that tells you a lot of things, but there's still a gap. There's still a missing link. And that missing link is the fact that a lot of people don't do most of the things, they read, or most of the things they have access to online and the rest. One of the things that I have seen during the works that I have done so far in this space is the fact that a lot of people who are having mental health issues still find it so difficult to ask for help when it comes to mental health issue. It's very easy for someone to ask you for help when they are broke financially, but when they are broke mentally, they conceal it to themselves because they feel the society will say something about them. And the truth of the matter is, how would you access help when you don't put yourself in the position of someone that needs help? And that's a whole lot of people, including those people who are leaders as well. I mean, we have seen all of these things affect a lot of people. We have seen people who are pastors, they counsel people, but when they have issues, they feel, why should someone like me now go to tell someone that I'm having mental health related issues?
They can't
And
seek
a
for.
lot of damage. Exactly. So the first thing I used to tell people is, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is not weak to speak up. It is not weak to speak. So that is the first thing. Ask for help. When you are feeling down mentally, when you are stressed up, when you feel like you are getting burnt out already in your workspace, you need to just go ahead and ask for help. And the next thing we'll talk about what you also mentioned, which is about the precise help. So sometimes a lot of people now ask for help in the wrong space. So imagine you asking someone who had the wrong notion about mental health. So when they say you have mental health related issue and they refer you to, you know, someone who doesn't even have the technical ability to help you out, or someone who has the wrong notion about it. You have mental health related issue, they take you to one spiritual home and they are whipping that person with broom. There is one spirit from this village that is inflicting that thing on him. You
Yeah.
understand? And a lot of people have been abused in some villages in Africa that way, because they feel like mental health is being evoked on them by one demon or the other. So
Yeah.
imagine you ask for help in a very wrong way. So another thing now is to go through the right source. Ask professionals. Just as you find it so easy to go to the doctor, people should find therapy as something that is normal now. Seek for help from therapists, from professionals, from coaches, when you are having issues that relate to that line of profession in one way or the
Yeah.
other. And they will
Yeah.
tell you what to do in that line. I feel these are the two things that I can share that can help people.
Oh, that's very powerful. You know what? You said it earlier that people will do like this, to show mbano. They will say mbano, not me.
Not me.
I can't be sick, and we spoke earlier about stigma of or condemnation, especially when people come out. Like you gave an example of many people who help other people, but when they themselves need help, it becomes difficult simply because maybe stigma, maybe because of condemnation. And one of the things that I picked up, which is very important, especially to everyone who's watching this podcast now, is the issue of society blaming someone who has mental wellness, challenges. There are so many people when you go out and say, hey, look, I'm discouraged, I'm exhausted, and they will start saying a lot of things that can make you feel guilty without understanding that it happens to everyone. Most people, when they say, hey, look, I'm not okay mentally, many people will start blaming them and telling them you must eat 5 apples a day, you must exercise 3 hours every day. And we are quick to condemn and make people feel guilty. But I'm sure that after what you have said today, it is important, and I learned a lot. I don't want to lie, especially on some of the strategies that you gave us today, in terms of regaining strength, regaining control, and being able to, awareness and alertness. There are so many people, again, Mr. Pelemo, who've got mental wellness issues, and they are not even aware. It's the next people who suffer. There are people who sometimes they blow frustrations on people. Some people become impatient. It's all because of the pressure that they are feeling in their minds. And that pressure, has really taken a toll on them. But I believe from today, as everyone and, the global, people who are listening to the podcast now, they understand the difference between mental wellness and psychiatric. I believe after the podcast, there won't be anyone else who says, I want to keep quiet, but people will come out and speak something. What is the word? What is the last word that you can give to our viewers and to our listeners who are watching or listening to the podcast now? What is the last thing, the word of encouragement that you can give to someone watching or listening to this podcast now?
Thank you so much, Puffy, for having me. Before I round off everything, I really appreciate the opportunity once again. My last word for people is the fact that you are much more than what you are going through. Do not let what you are going through define you. Don't be defined by depression. Don't be defined by the panic attack, the apprehension, by your fears going through. You are much more than those things. Let what define you be the purpose that you carry, your mental strength. And these are the things that make you up. If you are not who you are, what is after you will not be after you. And the fact that it's after you is because you are bigger than that thing. Let that be what resonates in your mind. Don't be defined by just one single moment of failure. Don't be defined by just one pronouncement that you have the depression. Don't be defined by that one side. Responsibility is to be responsible right in your hand to be who you can be in your life. Thank you.
Mr. Kunle Pelemo, thank you so much. Let me give you a clap of hands here on my screen so that you can see the honor, that we are giving you to really come on this platform and speak on mental wellness and hygiene. This is the phenomenal, the great, the exceptional Mr. Kunle Pelemo, a global strategist, a mental health advocate, You know, he's a global goodwill ambassador, humanitarian in Nigeria. He's also an author on mental hygiene. We thank you for being with us today. Well, everyone, you've heard what Mr. Kunle Pelemo said. If you've just joined us now, it's okay. You can follow this episode of mental wellness and hygiene with Mr. Kunle Pelemo on our social media platforms. This is Untold Stories of Hope podcast, brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. We are grateful to have spoken about this topic that is highly, highly, highly important. And you can follow us on destinyconnectfoundation.org. It's our website. You can also search on LinkedIn and Facebook, Destiny Connect Foundation. Then you can see the Untold Stories of Hope podcast. And we are grateful to be hosting you even today. You, as you are watching this podcast, you might also be having a story somewhere around the globe. You might also have an untold story that you want to share with the world so that people can find hope through your story. You know how to contact us, and we are looking forward to have you as our next guest so that you can give many people globally the opportunity to understand that humanity is power. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Sharp, sharp.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Untold Stories of Hope podcast. We hope you enjoyed and you were inspired by today's conversation. Remember, you can get more access to resources plus join a thriving global community of change makers by visiting our website at destinyconnectfoundation.org. Please subscribe to our channel and spread the word. Don't forget to turn the notification on. Until next time, keep inspiring your world.